study by Fortune magazine. I'm assuming this is Fortune magazine. It said that training alone improved leadership skills by 22%. And when it is combined with executive coaching, the improvement jumps to 77%. So that is the role of a coach. And today we have Anita Hurreesing, who is a leadership coach, which means she's coaching leaders on how to become a coach. Hi, Anita. How are you today?
Hi, Sandeep. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I also happen to come across this another very interesting quote by Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins. We popularly know him by that name, and he's a coach. He's a rather popular coach, and he says everyone needs a coach, whether it's a top level executive, a graduate student, a homemaker, a homeless person, or the president of United States of America. What's your take on that, Anita?
I guess he's right. I guess each one of us at one point in time, maybe looking at life from different perspective, we don't always have all the answers. And having somebody who can guide, somebody who can give us a different perspective is always welcome, especially looking at the way life moves so fast these days. The moment that you start looking at something, things change suddenly. We've all gone through this world lockdown for the past few months, which is something which we never thought about. And everything that we used to look upon has completely changed perspective. And I guess in these times of uncertainty, in these times of, let's say, everyone is asking, what do we do now? How do we respond to these different challenges? And I think the coach is the person who can help us. Somebody who's got more experience, somebody who can question us sometimes and help us find our own answers too.
My perspective of coaches was very limited to maybe sports because you
Mhm.
see your football teams or cricket teams or any sport that you follow, every team has a coach, right, or a team of coaches, and or you have a coach in the gym. But today we hear of life coaches, leadership coaches, relationship coaches, coaches literally in all aspects, right? Is it that people need an external sort of a support more in today's day and age, or alternately, there's more availability of people with experience who want to share and give back and help nurture other people. So what has led to the growth of this entire coaching sector?
Sandeep, I think as you rightly pointed out, it started with sports, the field of sports, where somebody who could be out there and see the hidden potential of people. Very often, people don't even realize the potential that they've got. And the person who is out there, who's got more experience, who can see really the different aspects of people, can see these hidden potential. And maybe he can challenge you. Maybe he can advise you. Maybe he can teach you new skills. And I think whether you're a student, whether you're a leader, whether you're a parent, sometimes you need these type of people to be there to mirror out what is inside, in fact, and help you develop this hidden potential.
Interesting. I was reading through your profile. It's quite a dynamic and a vibrant profile. You worked 28 years in the field of training in psychological and agile aspects of management, and you also worked in social impact. You have a master's degree in sociology from the Paris Sorbonne University. You have an MPhil in organization development and social psychology from Paris Dauphine University. You work with Bonaire Group. You work with the Mauritius Export Promotion Zone Association, MEPSA. You've served as the head of women's unit at the Ministry of Women's Right in Mauritius, where you had a team of over 110 people. You worked with organizations like UNICEF, UNDP, UNFPA, IFAD, and I mean, this is just a start. You've developed training manuals for UNESCO and the National Productivity and Competitive Council of Mauritius. And you've been an active participant in the field of helping other people develop. How did you identify that you have that inherent potential to be a coach, a leadership coach? That means a coach for leaders. And how did your journey transpire into what you're doing today?
While looking back over these 28 years, I think there's been just one guided line throughout. It's about helping people. It's about helping people grow. And I think when you don't put any time, any type of judgment, any type of prejudice, thinking that each and everyone can grow wherever, whatever level he is. Just thinking back over the experience I had as the head of women's unit. I was barely 32 years old, I think. I was given this job, and most of my the people I had to lead were much older than me, were in their 50s, and it was quite challenging. It was quite challenging because they've been used to one way of doing things. They've been used to work in a very tight framework, especially government setup. And when I started, everybody started looking at you with very specular eyes, saying, "What is this little woman there, 5 foot tall, going to teach us? How is she going to lead us?" Then gradually over the years, over the months, over the years, people started coming up to me. They didn't look at you from far away. They started coming up to me and knowing that I could help, knowing that I could help them grow. And when I was there, I spent 7 years as head of the women's unit at the Ministry of Gender. And whenever I went off on maternity leave, I had my 3 children who were born during this period. Everybody wanted to take out the staff which was in my unit because they were trained, they could be very agile doing any different type of job that you're given them. Because usually in a ministry setup, people are going to do just what you gave them. They've got this file, they're going to go just for this file. Even if it means just adding just a little comma there, they've done their work, that's it. But the team that I brought up was a very agile team, very flexible, they could do everything. Even today, years after I've left the ministry, if I just pick up the phone and say, "Can you help me? I've got this project to do," they're going to say yes. I've done it. And this really gives you lots of satisfaction. Even after years, they're still there. They still remember, you know, "I learned this thing from you. It's because of you that I'm here." And this really gives me lots of satisfaction.
You've empowered people at the place where you work, and you realize that this can be, I mean, the scope is much broader than a particular organization. And tell me
Exactly.
something. You've been working with leaders of organizations or institutions. You've been coaching them,
Mhm.
right? And what do you see is the biggest challenge that leaders face, because of which they need coaching?
I think very often when people move up the ladder, it's because they've got a certain set of functional skills. And very often what they lack is this human contact. It's the ability to make the team move in the direction that they need to move and really get the buy-in of each and everyone. It's not just the buy-in of a few and leaving the rest behind, but getting the buy-in of each and everyone and really taking the time to connect to people. Most of the managers would be more interested in the goal, in the figures. In At the end of the day, they've got to deliver this. They've got to produce X amount of rupees. They've got to produce X amount of T-shirts. They've got to produce their products. They're much more interested in the end goal and not really going through the process. Process, I mean, really connecting to the people. Coming back to COVID, the lockdown that we had, I guess many managers and leaders realized that everything was there. The office was there, the technology was there, everything was there, but the people were not there. And when you've got the people there, you could connect to them online. How are you going to make all these people work together on the same project when everybody was in different places, different setups? They realized this, I guess, this is this personal contact, which would make the people really come together and work on a similar project, whether they were together in a room or they were across the world, and could really connect to this. I think it's this small element about connecting people, about really caring for people too. Because if you want people to grow, you need to care for them. And when you care for them, whatever issue they might have, you can connect to them and maybe not help 100%, but just listening sometimes. Listening to what the other has, whatever challenge he or she is going through, can just unlock these potential, the resistance which could have been there for people to align to your vision and to your goal. I think
Definitely.
connection.
I think that's a very, very important point of having that human connection.
Hmm.
You I mean, if you nurture, let's say, your sales staff, they give a very, they, pass on the same nurturing attitude to your client, right? I'm in a very
Yeah,
practical analogy. And we tend to associate our organization as that building where I work, right? But this
exactly.
COVID made us realize that there are no buildings. It's just people, right? What the organization conveys or what the brand of the organization is simply the people that are working with you day and night to make that organization successful. And today, that building may be meaningless because people still, in a lot of countries, people are still continuing to work from home or wherever they are.
Hmm.
And this is a very very interesting topic, the topic of or the aspect of coaching. And what Fortune, when they did this study, they said that training improved leadership skills by 22% and coaching improved by 77%. Right? I'm sure there will be underlying parameters behind this particular quote. Right now, a leader can be a bossy leader, which is instruction led. A leader
Hmm.
can be a mentor, but you have been prophesizing, or you've been saying that a leader is most impactful when the leader himself or herself works as a coach for his or her team. Would you
Yeah,
would you like to share your views on that?
yeah. I think the leader as coach is a bit like the parent at home for the family or the captain in the ship who is there to advise very often, to model out what type of behavior that he would like his team to have. He's at the same time the catalyst who can speed up progress for people. He can be the companion. He can be the person who's going to walk with you from step A to step 10 or step A to step Z. And if you get that kind of leader, that kind of leader as a coach, you're much more inclined to go beyond the limit yourself and not just do what you have to do and leave the rest. When you see the leader who's modeling out these type of behavior and who's side by side by your side, you're going to have the same motivation to go beyond your own limit. And I think a coach can also be somebody who opens doors for you. He can open door in terms of not only the work that you're doing actually, he can see the potential in you and help you to grow out, even if it means going out of the company sometimes. That's, I believe that's a good coach. He can make introduction for you. Or if you're working on a particular project in the company and you need the support which is outside, he can be that guy too. And I think in this way, a leader as a coach can help people grow better. Just like a parent at home. If you're going to help your child stand on his own, you're going to help model out the behavior that your child needs to adopt or get inspired through so that he can stand on his own. Maybe sometimes supporting, offering encouragement, recognizing the small accomplishment that your child does. Likewise, the leader at the office or in the organization can recognize all these different accomplishments. Accomplishment could be at work or could be within the family. Let's say your daughter won the dance prize and nobody knows, but he as your coach and as your leader knows. And you're having lunch with your teammates and he just comes by and says, do you know Sandeep's daughter just won the prize, the dancing prize competition? That does make you feel good. And I think this kind of support too helps to create this connection, this more human connection at work.
One thing that is repeatedly talked about and quoted as well, that for leaders is lonely at the top,
Uh-huh.
right? And when Tony Robbins said that everybody needs a coach, including the President of United States, right? So for any layman who's never interacted or engaged with a coach, I mean, what is a coach more than just being a sounding board, or somebody who's giving constant advice, especially for leaders if they're looking at getting a coach, for their growth and development and holistic organizational growth.
I think when you're at the top of any organization there, this is a very vulnerable place. And having the coach who's going to walk side by side with you, who's going to be an ally, could be an advisor, or who could advocate for you. I think this would help you be less vulnerable. But very often the coach is not the guy who owns all the answers either. And this coaching process, I think, is both for the coachee and the coach to learn. Maybe at one point in time, the coach was seen as the guy who's got all the answers, who's got all the skills. But I think the way the world is evolving right now, I think both the coach and the coachee are learning together in this coaching process.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So it's basically more, I mean, it's like more of metacognition or self-reflection that a coach helps the leader to go through, right? To
Mhm.
find the right answers, to find the right solutions, to find the right approach to a particular challenge, problem, or opportunity, right?
Yes, because I don't think anybody's out there has got all the answers. And going through this process, maybe sometimes I think the coaching process is like what in ancient times, the on the open space, public space, maybe like what Aristotle would have been doing, would have come with an idea, with an hypothesis, and asked all the people who were there, who could think of different solutions, who could think of different aspects of the idea that he brought about, and who could start this whole thinking process and see how you could develop an idea. And I think this coaching process is similar to this. And looking at this, maybe it's too daring. I don't know what has happened the past few days, few months, especially after the oil spill, seeing people going down in the street and saying, we don't want this way. We don't want this type of leadership. We would like our leaders to be more responsible in some way. And maybe this is when you see somebody just taking the lead out there saying, we don't want this, we don't want that. We would like more responsibility. We would like more accountability and being able to group people together, having similar ideas, having similar opinions. I think this is the whole coaching approach too, because leadership is not just somebody who was born with these traits. I think it you get the opportunity to let these leadership traits emerge when you've been given a particular situation. Mauritians, the way I've always seen Mauritians be very passive in between inverted commas, and maybe like Indians would say the die-day approach. We say, okay, maybe things would change out of themselves. But seeing people go down in the street, I don't think I've heard people go down in the street since 1975, when the students were out there saying, we would like a better educational system. And after that, we got free education, secondary, primary, and secondary education, free education. This is the first time after so many years, nearly 30 years, seeing people really going down saying, we want things differently. And I think
This
this
was
is about
a
leadership.
great, definitely. I mean, this is also an example of how everybody felt that ownership towards a nation or accountability, where everybody stepped in, everybody
Yeah.
contributed, and in their best capacity tried to mitigate whatever the challenge is. Of course, giving an ideal example of what leadership should be like. Which brings me to a very interesting question. That one of the popular coaches that we all see who's there on Netflix, on YouTube is Anthony Robbins. And if you see any of his videos, he's basically, I mean, which are more public videos, he's trying to bring out the best potential of any individual that the person may not know of.
Yeah.
And for that, the coach needs to have certain inherent traits, qualities, or a personal or a persona. Right? So how would you define the trait of a coach who is helping people achieve their utmost potential?
I think the first skill is somebody who can really listen, somebody who really can listen and who can make himself available. I think in most of the trainings that I do, I usually take this example of my ex-boss at Tower Stone, who used to have his small black book. And whenever we went to clients' meeting, he would come back and start asking us questions about how did you find the meeting? How did you see the people's reaction? What kind of responses were there? Do you think we could have elicited different responses the way we presented our offerings? He never gave his own opinion. He was just asking questions and helping us really go through it, analyze, and get our own opinion, get our own idea, find things from ourselves. And then at the end, maybe he would, after having listened to 4 or 5 of us, maybe afterwards he would think, he would just keep on noting with in his little small book. And just at the end, maybe after 2 or 3 hours, he was very relaxed all the time. And then he would say, maybe we could go in this direction, maybe in that other direction. I think listening is a skill which really a good coach needs to develop. Secondly, I think being available and present all the time. Because if you're having a coaching conversation and you're thinking about what you need to do next, or what next meeting you're going to attend, or you're still answering your emails on the laptop at the same time and having a coaching conversation, I don't think it would work, because people don't sense your presence there. You're not available. And I think the different types of skills that would help people really believe in the coach is how authentic is the coach. By authentic, I mean, does this person really walk the talk? Or is this person, when he's in front of me, he's this way, but when he's in front of that other person, he's different? How authentic is that person? Would I trust that person? When I'm coming to that person, if I've got a challenge and I'm looking for an answer, if I can open up to that person, can I really trust him? I believe authenticity is something which is very important for a coach. Presence, vulnerability of the coach too, because I think I mentioned it earlier. The coach is not always the person who's got all the answers. And if that person can show he's vulnerable too, he's learning too in this process, I think this would help the coachee be more trusting towards the coach. Honesty, I guess, would be something which a coachee would appreciate in a coach. Somebody who's going to say the right things at the right time in the right way. Being honest to having maybe sometimes the hard talk too, not just brushing everything under the carpet, saying everything is okay, you're going to make it when things are really tough, but having these hard conversations too, but saying it in a way that the other person can understand and accept things. I think honesty would be another quality that I would think coaches really need to work on.
Well, thank you, Anita, for this really wonderful conversation and giving us insights in terms of, what coaching is all about, and what are the important traits that a coach needs to have. I know I have attended your courses on edVentr, which is transformational leadership, the role of a leader as a coach, and whatever. I mean, it is one of the most attended and a popular course on edVentr which people enjoy. And what I've seen is that people in your sessions disconnect from day to day life, and are very engaged to realize and a very inherent, I mean, their inherent potential, or probably their role as a coach when they are in leadership positions. So yes, for all those who are watching, for all those who will be watching this in future, can always check that on the edVentr website. The course is available for you to attend and learn, how you can be a better leader, especially when you wear the shoes, wear the hat of a coach. So thank you once again, Anita. It was a pleasure
Thank
interacting with
you.
you.
Thank you for helping me sharing a few things. Thank you.
Thank you.